Time now for a look at some of the day's business news with France 24's Cole Stango. Hello to you, Cole.
Hey, Will.
Beginning, first of all, with news here in France that the government is taking strong action to curb the hike in energy costs.
Yeah, that's right. Like the rest of Europe, natural gas and electricity prices have risen steeply here in recent months. Now the state's aiming to reduce their effects on consumers. Prime Minister Jean Castex announced the hike in electricity prices set for February will be capped at 4%. The price of natural gas will be frozen until April. The move comes after months of rising costs driven by pent-up demand and supply problems worldwide. Emerald Maxwell has more on the measures in France and the problem of rising energy costs across Europe.
With energy prices in France skyrocketing, the government is taking action with a pledge to cap gas prices until spring after this Friday's nearly 13% increase.
Nous allons bloquer. Il n'y aura plus d'augmentation du prix du gaz, c'est-à-dire celles qui sont envisagées. Le tout, c'est que pour les consommateurs de gaz, il n'y ait pas cette hausse extrêmement forte qui est prévue.
French energy bills have risen a whopping 57% since the start of the year, and it's a similar picture across much of Europe. European reference prices for natural gas have surged more than 3 times in less than a year. Governments are scrambling to come up with emergency measures to cushion the impact on their citizens, such as cutting taxes on energy bills like Spain. Much of the price hikes stem from a natural gas shortage after a colder and longer winter depleted stockpiles at the start of the year. That was followed by a surge in pent-up demand as economies across the world kick-started their post-pandemic recoveries. But demand hasn't been matched by increased supply, and there are suspicions that Russia, where most of Europe's gas comes from, is deliberately restricting its offer in order to pressure Europe to sign off on Nord Stream 2, its new pipeline to Germany. Fingers are also being pointed at European climate policy, which means Europe is less able to turn to coal-fired plants, and renewable energy isn't yet plugging the gap. But the EU blame the continent's still too big dependence on gas.
We have to end our dependence on foreign, volatile fossil fuels as soon as possible. We also need to take energy efficiency seriously.
The repercussions of the crisis are already being felt. Many of the UK's smaller energy suppliers have collapsed, while some French electricity retailers are also at risk of folding.
Let's take a look now at Friday's trading action. European markets in the red to kick off the day, continuing the losses that we saw yesterday on Wall Street, as you can see there. Investors also anxious about an inflation reading coming this afternoon. CAC 40 down around 1.3%, losses too on the FTSE and the DAX. Meanwhile, markets in Asia closed in Shanghai and Hong Kong for holiday. Those shares in Seoul and in Tokyo, as you can see there, posting losses to close out the week. That's despite a survey showing an uptick in Japanese manufacturing sentiment.
And meanwhile, Cole, a long-awaited round of trade talks between the EU and Australia has been delayed.
Yeah, this coming, of course, after Australia's decision to cancel a multi-billion-dollar contract for French submarines, opting instead for a deal with the United States. France has since questioned whether it can trust the Australian government, all the while casting doubt on a potential trade deal, something that's been in the works since 2018. Australia's trade minister has said he will continue planning for the next round of talks.
Well, to Venezuela next, where the government has a new measure to battle hyperinflation.
That's right. Starting today, what used to be 1 million bolivars is now worth 1 bolivar. It's designed to make transactions easier and marks the 3rd time that zeros have been slashed from the currency since 2008. But the move's impact may be limited. The bolivar is often used for public transit, though, as this mechanic explains, most day-to-day transactions are done in US dollars.
Por mi trabajo ahorita yo no recibo bolívares, todo es en transacción en dólares, porque los presupuestos, tú pasas un presupuesto ahorita de repuesto, por lo menos lo pasas una hora y bajas otra hora, ya te varía, hasta en dólares te varía el precio. Entonces nosotros ya no trabajamos en bolívares, pues, porque ya bolívar es la palabra nada más, pero ya todo está dolarizado.
And finally, Cole was closely watching a legal dispute in Hollywood. It has finally come to an end.
Yeah, the actress Scarlett Johansson has reached a settlement with Disney over her claims of breach of contract. Johansson had sued the firm over the release of her superhero movie Black Widow, which came out in theaters this summer at the same time that it debuted on Disney's streaming platform. Johansson had argued that that dual release unfairly reduced her pay, which was based in part on box office earnings. The terms of the settlement have not been disclosed. Either way, will certainly an issue that's worth keeping an eye on. You have more and more studios that are opting for this dual release model.
Yeah, indeed. And I guess we'll see that, as you say, moving forward. Did you see Black Widow?
I did not.
I didn't either. So we're also affecting the bottom line for Scarlett
Yes,
Johansson.
looks like it.
All right. Thank you very much.